Testing. Shoot. Oh, testing. Hello, testing. I'm just trying to make sure that this is working. I have a new mic. Well, it's not new. I just found a mic. If anyone is here, let me know if you can hear me. I'm hoping you can. I think it's working. Um, testing. I'm just going to wait a few moments for people to get here and to see if anyone. Oh, yay, it's working. Oh, thank God. Okay, I'm so happy. I noticed the sound on my past videos weren't the best, so I'm hoping that this one will be better. Um, I had these mics and I just haven't used them, so I'm glad to be using them. Welcome, Patty. Thanks for joining. I can't really see who's joining unless you leave a comment, but welcome. I'm glad you all are here. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So today we're going to talk about when it's time to get a new pet, how you know it's time. I'm going to share my experience after Squiggles died. Oh, quick time out. We have a foster here. I don't know if you can see her little feet, but this is Crouton and she is insanely cute. She's in here, so I figured she could also join. Um, anyway, that's a little crouton. Um, yeah, so, all right, how to know when it's time to get a pet. I'm going to tell you about my experience. I'm also going to share 2 tools that may help. Um, so yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Before we begin, I'm Paige Reckman. I'm a licensed therapist. I'm a bereaved pet owner. I'm the person who started this group, and thank you for being here. I also want to take a moment to remind everyone that these talks are not therapy. They're more for educational purposes and for community building. So, as always, if you need some mental health support, talk to a professional. This is not a replacement for that. So, okay, I'd also like to take a moment for those of you who are here or if you're watching the replay to connect to your pet that has passed away. So we're just going to take a moment, if you'd like, to close your eyes and maybe put your hands on your heart. And just for a few moments, we'll have a few moments of silence and try to connect to the love that you still have for your pet that exists inside of you. Thank you so much for joining me for those few moments. Okay, so we can go ahead and get started. I've shared bits and pieces of my story on adopting a new pet in this group, but I just want to share it all with you here now because it's always nice to hear how other people have been able to move forward and get to this milestone in their grief journey of finally adopting a new pet. So Squiggles died back in June of last year, and at the time I knew I needed a year to grieve. I knew I was going to need a year. I had no plans to get a new pet. But a few months after she died, I decided that I was in desperate need of some feline energy in our house. I was just really irritable. I was really stressed out. And so there was an organization that my husband and I have fostered with before. And we just wrote to them. We're like, we need fosters. We need to be having some cats in our home. So the organization had 2 adult males that we fostered, and they were wonderful. But I knew in my heart that they were not my cats. My guard was completely up, especially after 2 months. I just knew that I wasn't ready, and I have no regrets. It was wonderful to have them. I was so happy when they were adopted. We named them Brown Boy and Orange Boy, so you can tell the guard was definitely up. I just want to make sure this is, yeah, okay. And yeah, so they got adopted within a couple of months, and then a few months later, we fostered a couple of other adult males, Claude and Henri, and they were also wonderful, wonderful cats. My guard was up. I knew they were not my cats, and we had them for about 4 months until they were adopted. And again, I was so happy that they were adopted. Then, back in February of this year, my husband decided to surprise me with 2 foster kittens when I was out of town. And kittens are different. I will say, if you're like me and you want to give yourself more time before you adopt, don't don't go with kittens or babies because there's something about them that you just feel so attached. So as soon as I was with them, I remember the first night I got home and they were there. One slept in this nook and another slept in this nook. I couldn't even sleep the first night because I had two kittens in my arms, and it was almost like game over from that point. So it took us a few months to actually decide that we wanted to adopt them. I think I was really fighting um, this idea that I needed a year. And, in some ways, I think it maybe was a little bit too soon because, it's taking me some adjustment to feel like they're my cats. I couldn't even say they're my cats for a few months. Again, I have no regrets about adopting them. I think another piece that is important to recognize is if you are in a partnership, that person may have different feelings than you do about adopting. And so I knew for my husband, he had never had pets before, and he really, really fell in love with these two. And I wasn't necessarily ready and eager to adopt cats, but I did really love these two kittens that came into our lives. And when the foster organization called and said two people wanted to meet them, we were both like, we couldn't imagine giving them away. And so we decided, all right, I guess we're going to adopt them. It took us a long time to actually commit and to tell the organization, yes, we're going to keep them. It took months, but eventually they were like, you need to let us know now. So yes, so that is the story. We have two cats. I do have two cats, Sunbeam and Shishito, and they are wonderful, and I am still getting to know them. I know I have a lifetime of connecting with them and learning more about them. Oh my gosh, Crouton is probably so distracting right here. Come on, baby. But that's okay. She's so cute. Just a foster, this one, at least for now. All right, so let's go ahead. I want to share these two tips to help you decide if it's time. One is for people that tend to think more logically. The other is for people that tend to think more intuitively. I think oftentimes we fall into one of these categories a little bit more. I tend to be more intuitive. So there's no right or wrong, there's no better or worse way of thinking or doing things, but I think it's important to just have options for how you can decide if it's time. So let's go over the logical tool, which is a pros and cons list that's more holistic. So typically when you see a pros and cons list or write one down, it's like, all right, am I ready to get a cat? What are the pros of getting a cat now? Or I say cat, a pet, a dog, a lizard, any kind of pet. What are the pros of getting a pet now? What are the cons, right? And that can be helpful, but this kind of pros and cons list it's like a square. So here, I'll show you what it looks like. So you can do something like this on a sheet of paper, and then you can write, okay, getting a pet now is part of it. And then there's also waiting to get a pet as an option. So I'm going to put that down here. I'll show you in a second. And then the pros and the cons, so you can see. So I'm getting a pet now, the pros and the cons, and then waiting to get a pet, and we'll put the pros and cons. And so I just think sometimes you can be a little more holistic about your thinking when you can put down different options, the pros and cons of each. So, some pros of getting a pet now might be it'll fill the emptiness that I have in the house. You can write, if anyone's here, please share what you think some pros might be, what some cons might be. A con might be, I want more time to grieve, right? I just don't think I'm ready. If you're waiting to get a pet, some pros might be, I have a little more freedom in the meantime. Another con for waiting to get a pet is, I'm trying to think, a con of waiting to getting a pet is, I feel so lonely right now. That would be something that maybe is a con. So this is something that you can do over a few days. It might take some time to really think about, for me specifically, what are the pros and cons in my life for getting a pet right now or for waiting? Maybe you're moving in 6 months, and that would be a pro for waiting, right? I'm moving in 6 months. I want to wait until I'm in my new home. Maybe you have a partner like I did who keeps talking about getting a pet. That would be, get a pro for getting a pet now. So some of the components might overlap, and that's fine, but you might get a little more options for for thinking through pros and cons in this way. The next tool that I want to go over is more intuitive. I hope this is still working. Let me just flip it. Okay. 1 second. And this is, we can do this now. This is a tool that I learned in a therapist group that I really like. We had, I think it was an intuition coach that came in, and she taught us how to make a decision. And you can use this for any decision that you're making. Also, this pros and cons list you can use for any kind of decision you're making too. But what I'm going to have you all do is I'm going to have you just get comfortable in your chairs. And if you'd like, you can close your eyes. And I just want you to take a few moments to breathe, get settled in your body, feel a little more relaxed, release any tension. And as you're relaxing and getting a little more settled, I'll share more about what we're going to be doing. I'm going to be sharing with you 2 statements. And what I want you to do when you hear these statements is just pay attention to what's happening in your body. Maybe you have some thoughts going on in your head. That's totally fine. Just notice any sensations, any feelings that come up. Just pay attention to how you're feeling. So go ahead and take a moment, a few more breaths. And I want you to sit with this idea of, I am ready to get a new pet. If you say that to yourself, notice what's happening in your body. Don't judge it, just feel it, see what comes up. Continue to sit with that idea, I am ready to get a new pet. When you're ready, you can go ahead and open your eyes. If you'd like, you can take a few notes on what came up for you. Just be aware of that. You can shake it out for a moment because we're going to do another thought. When you're ready, you can close your eyes again. Get relaxed. Take a few deep breaths. We're in a bit of a reset now. Reground yourself. The next thought that I want you to sit with, again, notice what's happening in your body. I am not ready to get a new pet. Think that to yourself for a moment and just pay attention to what's happening. I am not ready to get a new pet. Some thoughts might be swirling in your head, that's fine. But again, you just want to notice the sensations in your body and what comes up. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. And I'd love to hear, for anyone who's here, if you'd like to share what came up for you for each of these statements. The first one was, I am ready to get a new pet. The next one was, I am not ready to get a new pet. Typically, when you take a moment to get still and listen to your body, one statement is going to feel a little bit different than the other. Sometimes it's going to be a very subtle difference. I did this with a patient a while back, and I remember she said both felt, it wasn't for this topic, but both ideas felt very anxiety provoking, but one had a little more dread. That can happen. Maybe both are anxiety provoking, but one, there's a little bit more excitement. There's a little bit more opening happening inside your body when one of these statements, when you sit with it. And that's your intuition. That is your gut telling you something. So, to be transparent, I did not do either of these tools when I was making the decision to get a pet. I probably should have. But the idea here is that I think we think a lot about, oh, is it time to get a new pet? Should I get one? Is it the right decision? We're like caught up in this swirl of, oh, I don't know what to do. And it can help to have a little bit of stillness and to just really not just think through the pros and cons and what you might want to do, but just sit with these ideas that, maybe you're thinking about when you're on the train or commuting to work or, out with friends. You're not really like, you're not dedicating time to think about it. And this is a way to just give yourself the stillness that you need to sort through if it's time for you. I will say, while I'm talking about stillness, I want to share that I do have a therapist friend that is, she's hosting a sound bath retreat this weekend. If anyone is interested in going to it, it's for grief. So if anyone's interested in going, DM me because I have the information. I think it can be really helpful for anyone that is looking to have some stillness, some healing around their grief. It is not specifically for pets, but it is someone that I trust that is a grief counselor, and so I do think it will be a positive experience. So I just wanted to throw that out there for anyone who wants to have more stillness in their lives and maybe needs that accountability and that support to do so. So I want to add that, these tools are helpful. So many people in this group have posted, I just couldn't wait any longer. I stopped at the Humane Society on the way home and I got a pet. That is completely acceptable. I am so happy for you. There is nothing wrong with that. Some people, you may want to wait, right? Maybe you're thinking, I know I need another year. Like that's what I thought too. And that's okay too. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Another thing, some people, and this is hard to think about, hard to talk about, the pain of losing a pet is so intense that they decide they never want to get one again. And that's okay too. This is a place where there is no judgment. Wherever you are is exactly where you need to be. That's fine. I just want to acknowledge that these tools can be helpful, and you are more than welcome to handle this situation in whatever way works for you. You can stop on a whim, you can plan it out, you can do whatever works, whatever feels best. Okay, I think that's everything. Let me know if you do any of these tools. Please always let us know if you decided to get a new pet. We love to see it. We love to see the posts of the new babies. If you have any other questions about how to know when it's time, feel free to post them here. And I have this little kitten in my lap, so I'll show her again one last time. She is just so cute. Crouton, if anyone's in the New York City area, she needs a home, so you can adopt her. But thank you all again so much for being here, and I'm sending you hugs, and we will be reconnected soon. Have a good night. Bye.